how to improve deliverability, reduce the rejection rate, and simultaneously protect the sender's reputation? First and foremost, it's essential to maintain the hygiene of the mailing list and verify email addresses. With the integration of the email marketing platform with Bouncer, you can validate bulk email databases quickly and easily. Now, I'll show you how to automate this process, ensuring that toxic records are immediately removed from the list. In the menu on the left, select Workflows, then once again, Workflows from the drop-down menu, and create a new workflow. Drag the Start Event element and configure it accordingly. Depending on when we want to verify the user, we can choose different starting points. If we would like to check right after the registration, we choose the opt-in element. This will ensure that every time someone is added to the list, they will be checked by the Bouncer. This approach is justified when our list is of the single opt-in type. For double opt-in lists, there is no need to apply such a mechanism because the address is already confirmed by the user. If the scenario is intended to regularly check for inactive users and verify them using a Bouncer, then you would need to prepare a segment that includes all inactive users who haven't been verified by the Bouncer yet. Activate the workflow with a scheduled start event and use the prepared segment as the input group. This workflow can be set to run once a day, but it's important to avoid checking the same individuals repeatedly. After verification, you can save information in the user attributes, indicating that they have already been checked. In the segment, exclude these individuals. For the purposes of this scenario, we will only demonstrate the option with recording. Set the type of start event to opt-in. Choose the list you want to check. At this point, that's all. Click the Close button. The next step is to configure the API call element. Drag it onto the board and connect it to the start event. At this stage, you'll need the documentation for Bouncer and Expert Sender. You'll find the links to these sources in the video description. At the beginning of the Bouncer documentation, there's the XAPI key in header, which you need to copy. Go back to the email marketing platform and paste the copied link into the call URL field. In this case, the request type is set to GET. We also need to change the email tag to dynamic. Remove jonauseBouncer.com and select the subscriber email tag. To authenticate this request, you also have to add the appropriate name. So, go back to the Bouncer documentation. The name is located in this section. Copy the XAP key, return to the email marketing platform, and paste the copied content into the name field. In the value field, paste the individual API key. Now, log into your Bouncer account. From the left menu, select API, then generate an API key. Copy the generated key and paste it into the value field. At this point, we've set up a scenario that makes a query. However, we also want the responses to be saved. To achieve this, click Manage Data Fields. Choose Add New Record. Name it, for example, API Response. Set the type as text and click Update. Go back to the API call element, select When Request Fails, remove Subscriber from Workflow, check Save Response Body to Data Field, and choose the record created a moment ago. You can test the query. The key part of the response is the status section. There are 4 possible statuses precisely described in the Bouncer documentation: deliverable, risky, undeliverable, and unknown. The next step is to drag the data switch element to separate ports. We need to add ports for all 4 statuses. If we have 4 statuses, set the type to data field. Click Define Restriction and set API request contains status, deliverable, and do the same for each other status. Now you have to decide what should happen for each of the 4 responses. For the deliverable status, you can send, for example, a welcome message. Drag the Send Email element and add an End event. For the other 2 statuses, each client must decide individually what step to take. For the purposes of this tutorial, let's assume that we want to mitigate the risk and remove these addresses. Therefore, drag another API call. Now open the Expert Sender API documentation. From the left menu, select Methods, then Subscribers, and delete subscriber. Here, you'll find example URLs to delete a subscriber using an email address, copy the content, and return to the email marketing platform. Choose API call, and in the call URL field, paste the content copied a moment ago. In this case, set the request type to delete. There are two things to replace in this link. The first is the API key, which you'll find by selecting Settings from the left menu, then Business Unit. Click on the API tab. Please note that each expert sender instance has its own API address. This address can be found in the Settings, Business Unit API tab. You can use the main key or create a new API key just for deletion. Let's create a new key with deletion-only permissions. Copy the key, return to the scenario, and paste it here. Second thing, now remove this sample email address and add the dynamic subscriber email tag. You also need to add an end event. Of course, you can still consider what to do in the case of an unknown response. For example, you could try reaching out to them again later. However, in this basic version, the bouncer automation scenario looks just like this.